Hello and welcome to another live stream. It is Sunday, the 10th of October, and I hope that there's something here today that people will be interested in. I've got a few things to talk about, and I'll throw a link in chat. Is our Matrix server, and I'll dump that in chat right now. Hopefully people will be finding their way here shortly. So have never been a big fan of Slack or Discord, and I was really looking for something that was encrypted or had options for encryption, preferably something that was open source. And I happened upon Matrix. So this first iteration of our chat space, if you will, is running on one of the official Matrix servers. And so this is sort of a trial run. I have not administered a chat server before. I am interested to see how this goes. As of last night or early this morning, I have 3 people who have joined the Matrix server. And there has been some interesting conversation, including conversation around what people would like to see for future content on this channel. And while I'm not quite ready to announce what that material might be, if you go to the Matrix server, you can read the back chat, which is only a few days worth, and find out what we've been talking about. Good morning, Catherine. Welcome. So I guess we might as well get into this. This may be a rather short conversation today. So I didn't put together any news or big announcements. I've already talked about the Matrix server. So we'll jump right into our first Linux segment. And so what I want to talk about here is a couple of things. First, the Proxmox Cluster is coming back in the form of a proof of concept. This is not necessarily the ideal hardware to be running it on long term or in production especially, but the price was right on this equipment. I've had it around for a while. I've had it doing different things, and it was easy to repurpose for this particular type of project. So the Proxmox Cluster is going to be 3 machines. 2 of them are Dell Optiplex 7010s. One is an Optiplex 990, which is going to be the slowest of the bunch. However, these are all i5 machines, and yes, I understand quad core is not really ideal for virtualization. However, for what I want to do for demonstration purposes, these machines are perfect in that they were cheap. I can add at least 1 extra storage drive into each of them. They will run Proxmox. And for the demonstrations I want to do, they have enough power. So some of the demonstrations I want to do is actually showing the cluster operating. So you've got one interface that shows all 3 nodes, and you can access them from one central interface, right? So this would be similar to like a VMware vSphere. You have a single interface you log into, and you access multiple virtualization nodes. So this is all great. The next thing that I want to be able to do is I want to be able to live migrate between one machine and another. And as I found out yesterday, with a little fiddling and some internet research, you can actually make Windows 10 run halfway decently on one of these machines in a virtual machine. And so this will allow me to live migrate between 2 machines, probably the 2 faster machines. And so the bottleneck on this is going to obviously be the fact that I've only got a 1 gig LAN. And down the line, yes, I want to do some network upgrades. Right now, that's not in the cards. Everything is kind of expensive right now. So we'll see how this pans out. Okay. All right. So the first node is built. I've got 16 gigs of RAM in that. The boot drive is the spinning drive it came with, which I think is 750 gig Western Digital. Not my first choice, but that's what Dell put in it. The storage drive is one of the inexpensive inland professional 2.5 gig 2.5 inch 240 gig solid state drives that I picked up a 3-pack of. So they were pretty inexpensive. And again, for what I want to do as this sort of proof of concept, these solid state drives are perfect. And given the age of the machines they're going in, I wouldn't really want to spend top dollar on higher end solid states for this kind of proof of concept. So that is sort of a catch up on the Proxmox cluster. And so let's take a look in chat and see who else has joined us this morning. All right. So okay, I'm probably going to butcher your name. Yoon or Yoan. I have not run into your first name before, so please forgive my ignorance as an American. My apologies for that. So you say you've used UTM once on your Mac M1, but with no instructions, and it was a fail. So good news. I am going to cover this a little bit today, and we will take a look at some of the features that have been added since I looked at it last, which I was actually pretty impressed. So we will get to that. Catherine, I would love to get my hands on a 5800X or an Epic or a Threadripper. They're price prohibitive at the moment. So I will actually be showing something that I have been considering, because I'm looking at some of this from a power consumption standpoint as well. So I will circle back to this. Okay, so, and David, you made it. Welcome. Let's see. Let's see. Those are the drives Micro Center was giving away for in-person recently. Yep, I remember you saying that, David. Let's see. Okay. And Cajoling Technologies, welcome. Thanks for stopping by today. Glad you stopped in. So, all right. Let me turn off chat. Oh, one more. All right. So, great question. We're actually going to jump into that here right now. So, one of the things, does UTM support bridge mode networking? Yes, that was one of the additions in the most recent version. And let me share my screen. All right, so what you see here, along with my shiny head, is UTM, which is a wrapper around QEMU for macOS on the M1. Now, the cool thing is in this latest version, and I just updated to this a couple days ago, this is version 2.2.4. So if you're not on the latest version, you definitely want to upgrade to this. So if you edit your VM, one of the new things they added was in network, and they do now support bridge networking. And this was missing when I first looked at this product. So I was able to take and bring up my Ubuntu ARM machine in UTM, and I'm still pretty amazed at how quickly this comes up, unless I did something to screw it up. And so that brings us right in. And yes, this is the previous version of Ubuntu. The 2110 version is coming out this coming week on the 14th. So this is still, and it doesn't even list processor here. This is still 2104. I find it interesting that it doesn't even detect it as a KVM processor, but hey, it's a feat of software engineering that this is actually running and progressing as quickly as it is. So I cannot complain about that. So we'll go ahead and shut this down, and I had previously also brought up a Windows 10 VM. This is Windows 10 ARM. And this is considered a preview build. Now, what's going on in the head of the managers at Microsoft, I will never understand. Good morning, Carlos. So Windows 10 ARM, which has previously only been available on the Surface laptops, the ARM-based Surface laptops. I'm not sure if this is directly sanctioned by Microsoft or if it's a product of other players. But I think I done screwed this up. Anyways, so this had in fact been booting, and when I shut it down the last time, it was fine. We'll give it one more shot here. Let me look at settings real quick. I'm going to bump this up to, let's do the 6.1 ARM virtual machine and see if we can't get this to come up. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's not a huge deal. One thing I do like about UTM is that they give you this sort of gallery of downloadable virtual machines to start from, sort of similar to a turnkey Linux or OS boxes or Bitnami, but more desktop focused for the most part. But this is, yeah, I must have borked this the last time I was in it. Anyways, we'll just go ahead and close that out. So let me go to my other screen here. So this is, and I'm going to go ahead and bring that up full screen. There we go. I'll bump the size up a little bit. Okay, so this is one of the Optiplex 7010s. As I stated before, it's got a 750 gig boot drive that it has partitioned down. And so storage for things like ISO images and things of that nature are going to go on spinning Rust. And then on the solid state is going to be the actual virtual machines. So I spun up Ubuntu 2110 in this. And I have not done any optimizations on things such as the Spice or QEMU guest additions equivalents to VirtualBox. But this does run quite smoothly for being in a VM. Again, we've talked about Ubuntu 2110 a little bit before. There aren't a lot of huge changes. Some of the features, some of the software applications are backported from GNOME 41 to 40, which is what this is running. As you can see here, 40.4. This is running Wayland. It does pick up virtualization as KVM. and I can absolutely get some additional performance out of this by doing some tweaks and installing the Spice additions on this and being able to do some things that way. So this is running pretty well. I have not played much with screen resolutions. Generally, I like 1440 by 900 for the purposes of demonstrations. And then, of course, it will let you take it full screen. So pretty decent system there. I have noticed, compared to my 1U rack server, that this is actually more performant because I've got a solid state drive for the VMs, virtual hard drives, and the 1U rack server is, of course, spinning Rust, and that thing is older than dirt. But it's still running like a tank, and until prices come down a bit, I will likely be continuing to run that. So the other, let me get out of this. Let's see. Let's see. I don't want to log out. I want to shut this down. All right. So we want power off. Okay. So that was the Ubuntu 21.10. That was the release candidate version. So it was a daily image from the 8th of October. And again, the release to manufacturing, the RTM or full production release, is coming out on the 14th, according to the schedule. And that that should be interesting to see. And as far as I know, Pop! OS 2110 should be following shortly after that date. So the other thing is, I got to playing last night because I was curious about how well I could make this run. And I spun up Windows 10 in Proxmox. Now, when I first installed this, due to some driver issues, I had experienced an issue where the highest screen resolution I could get the VM to go to was 800 by 600. And so I set out to remedy that problem. And once this boots up, we'll see, hopefully see the results of what happened. So the other piece of this is that this is in fact running in EFI mode, as you can see here. The trick in Proxmox to doing UEFI is that you have to add, and it doesn't look like it's showing here. In normal situations, you have to add, maybe it hides it by default, but you have to add an extra hard drive and they've got the option of a UEFI, a specific UEFI drive. So, and obviously I'm not seeing where that is hiding right now. Oh well, curse of the live demo, right? So let's come back into the Windows 10. And so this I got actually running in full 1080p. Although this live stream is happening in 720, but just for the sake of argument, and of course it's acting slower now than what it normally does. It was moving at a good clip last night. So I did manage full 1920 by 1080, which is more than enough for what I'm doing. And this is probably the best performing VM install of Windows 10 I've had on Proxmox to date. So I'm still working on some tweaks, and I'm sure this will get better as I go forward. This is an evaluation version. I may down the road get an inexpensive license for Windows 10, since this is for lab purposes and not technically production. If I spend $32 on a license and it ends up going invalid again, I'm not really going to worry about it. But it will serve my purposes for what I do for the channel. And again, Windows videos are going to remain in the minority of what I do here. So let me catch up on chat a little bit, and hopefully that's shutting down. All right. Tony, you made it. Glad to see you here. Hope everything is going well for you. I guess time is kind of working against you for getting out on the bike too much more this fall, but enjoy it while you've got some decent days left. Let's see. Honestly, I'm not a fan with Canonical deciding to ship Firefox as a snap. I guess people could start using the instructions found on the Debian wiki to manually install Firefox. Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Carlos. I'm still not a huge fan of snaps. I had higher hopes for what they were going to do with it. But I've been following snaps since they were originally conceived for the more IoT versions of Ubuntu, and therefore more command line type software, server type software, where they do offer some advantages, although some of those advantages are lost by the extra configuration that you have to go through. But I don't know. At this point, it's 6 of one and half dozen of the other on something like a Raspberry Pi running Ubuntu server. On the desktop, yeah, I'm not as much in favor of snaps. although I don't think Canonical is going to give us much of a choice going forward until it ultimately bites them in their hind end and they're forced to make a change, either speeding it up and cleaning up some of the cruft from the early development of snaps, or going in another direction. So I am, from a pure, I don't know, I won't say a purist standpoint, but from a more pure Linux standpoint, I'm more in favor of flat packs and app images, and I'm kind of on the fence which one of those I like better. It's just, I don't know, I'm kind of up in the air on it at the moment. In my opinion, they could have just left well enough alone and continued with Debian packages, and I would have been fine with that. But technology doesn't stay the same, especially in the Linux world. So you had problems with Pop OS. I would sooner say that you may have had a bad ISO download. It could be a number of things. So I should bring myself back on screen. Okay, so, but yeah, I agree with Tony. You know, if he can do it and I can do it, anyone can do it. You know, coming with a lot of people coming from the Microsoft world, people by and large don't install their own operating systems. So if you can install any operating system, you've got an arm and a leg up on a large percentage of the population on the planet. So, all right. So try with the new version. Yep. It's always good to look at the new versions. I always find something new that surprises me a little bit. I know with their Cosmic Desktop, which is their customized version of GNOME, they are doing some interesting things, and a lot with window tiling. So a lot of people are going to have their first introduction to, you know, sort of tiling type window management in Windows 11, and it's existed in Linux for quite a number of years. So where Microsoft used to copy Apple, now it's copying anybody and everybody if it serves them. Okay, so great. Give that a try again and report back. And if you run into a snag, try to capture an error message, and you know, maybe we can all put our heads together one Sunday and try to help you through the issue. So, all right, let me switch over to my notes again and see where else I was going to go with this. Okay, so switching it up a little bit to talking about Windows and Mac, Mac OS and Mac hardware. So Windows 11 is out, and surprise, surprise, there is a bug. If you are running a Ryzen processor and that processor operates at greater than 65 watts, there is a bug that could potentially decrease your performance right off the top by 15%. Now, this has been reported on some machines, not all machines. So, as I'm sure you're all aware, patch your BIOS, install any new drivers, especially Windows 11 specific drivers from the manufacturer of your motherboard, and then wait for the patch from Microsoft. And hopefully between all those steps put together, you will see the performance restored and things can get back to normal. Now, I normally tell people, and I've got a client that I'm sure a couple of their staff members are going to be chomping at the bit and wanting Windows 11 ASAP. But I talked to the office manager, who's my main point of contact with them, and I told her that my rule of thumb for any new version of Windows has always been to wait at least 3 months and usually 6 months before moving to a new version. Unless there is some compelling reason to do it earlier. So we will see how that goes. I'm sure that will be a bit of an adventure. So that is the big news that I've seen for Windows 11. I have not tried installing the RTM version because right now I do not have a machine capable of running Windows 11. No TPM 2.0 in any of my machines, and all the processors I've got are older than their cutoff point. Which brings me to my potential solution to this dilemma. So currently I've got one Windows 10 machine on my network besides the random VM that I spin up. And so I've been looking at mini PCs. Okay, that's not working what I want. There we go. I've been looking at mini PCs on Amazon. And I've been curious about two companies in particular, B-Link and Minis Forum. And I'll put the names of those in the chat. And so these are similar to an Intel NUC, next unit of computing. But these are pretty reasonably priced. And for instance, here you've got an 8th gen Intel i5, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs NVMe, Windows 10 Pro, and it supports 4K dual monitors. And so I got looking at these for multiple reasons. One, because at some point I'm going to have a machine running Windows 11, whether I like it or not. And so I've been pricing for that kind of situation. The flip side is that all of the machines at my day job are old enough that they will not support Windows 11. So everything has a 6th gen or earlier Intel chip, with the exception of one laptop that we purchased earlier this year that's running a Ryzen. And I'm not upgrading that to Windows 11 until probably spring of 2022. But I've got to replace all of those machines. And this offers these type of machines, this class of machines will offer everything that we need for office work in a small form factor, because these are not gaming machines by any stretch, at a very competitive price point. Now, they do have some of these that are Ryzen. So here's one for $569 with a $30 coupon right off the top. And so with that, you're going to get the Vega 8 graphics. And while my M1 Mac Mini will still run circles around this thing, this would be a great machine for office work. So I am very much considering getting my hands on one of these for multiple reasons. One, I can sort of vet the company and the equipment, and sort of test it out, put it through its paces before I suggest it to management as a potential alternative to buying Dell or HP or Lenovo. And two, if I decide not to keep it running Windows long term, this would do very well with Proxmox as well. In fact, there are some of these little boxes that actually have dual gigabit Ethernet. So I've seen people use these for a pfSense or OpenSense router before as well. Now, you don't have to spend $600 on a box to run it as a router. There are Celeron versions of some of these that would more than fit that use case. So, but this is something that I'm considering. I'm not ready to pull the trigger on one of these yet, but depending on how some other projects go that I'm working on the side, and how quickly the customers pay for those projects, this may be something that will be in my future and act as a supplement. You know, I love my Mac, but I've got to support Windows, and so having a Windows 11 machine around would not be the worst thing in the world. And, you know, since there are known issues with Ryzen, and I think these are a 35 watt part, if I remember correctly from reading the specs on the Minis forum site, they shouldn't be impacted by the Windows 11 bug. But I would image the solid state drive that comes with it before running that update, just to have some assurance that I'm not going to be hit by that bug. So anyways, two companies that I'm looking at, they both have quite high ratings, and I've seen a lot of people review them. And this has sort of been, you know, inspired by the guy from Serve the Home, Patrick, I believe his name is, that does this project Tiny Mini Micro, which is actually grabbing used machines from eBay that are produced by Dell, Lenovo, and HP. And Tiny Mini Micro comes from the name designation that those companies give to these machines. They're considered, I guess, 1 liter machines. So, that kind of inspired my consideration of something like this. And, the fact that it's going to be lower power consumption, because they are using laptop processors. But when you can still get 4 cores, 8 threads out of something like this for under $600, it's hard to complain about that. So I think these are something that are worthy of consideration, especially in this time where it's difficult to get a graphics card without paying an exorbitant amount of money for it. And, then 2 years down the road, when prices recover or have been recovered for a while, then I can consider building a bigger machine. And at that point, Windows 11 would likely be a VM. So speaking of VMs, one thing, and I know I've exchanged an email with David about this. Be on the lookout for VirtualBox 7. I posted in the community tab about the VirtualBox 7 coming soon. Oracle is actively working on it. And there is an article on Tech Radar and of course VirtualBox VMs actually will run Windows 11. So Oracle is doing two things. They're working on a patch that will allow pass-through of a TPM 2.0 module that is physically in the machine. The other thing they're doing is working on VirtualBox 7.0, which is going to have support for a virtual TPM device. So that will be coming. I don't have any dates when, but this is the best article that I've found that actually talks about this. And the Tech Radar writer did correspond via email with an Oracle spokesperson to get this information. So take that for what it is. There are no guarantees, especially for open source projects, but it's worth keeping an eye on. All right, so I will be doing a video on Uptime Kuma. I have had this running in Docker on my network for a while. As you can see, I'm monitoring my NAS boxes, and I'm a fan of the movie Hackers, so they're named after the characters out of the movie Hackers. And I've had a couple polls up, and so I'm pretty happy with how the community tab is kind of working into my marketing strategy that I'm still developing for the channel. But this week, in this past week, I have really been pushing things out to Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn to hopefully get more eyeballs on the live stream and some of the videos I released. And surprisingly enough, the Proxmox VE command line utilities video that is actually a 19 odd minute clip out of a live stream that has been cleaned up. That has performed beyond my expectations at this point. So thank you to anybody and everybody who has taken the time to watch that. I appreciate it very much. Okay, let me jump back to my notes and finish off my thought process before we jump into chat again and I get caught up on that. Okay, so we talked about Windows, we talked about mini PCs. The other thing in this segment, I guess you can call it, is that Apple is due to announce their fall event, their fall Mac event, anytime now. According to all the leaks that have been coming out over the past few weeks, we should be expecting to see brand new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros with an M1X or M2 chip inside, which will bring more cores, more performance cores specifically, more GPU cores, and more RAM options. It's also been heavily rumored that there will be a redesigned Mac Mini. Some have been calling it a Mac Mini Pro, but we'll see what the actual status of that is when it hits the market. And that should be sporting the same M1X or M2 chip as the new MacBook Pros. Excuse me. So that is the news for Windows and macOS and Mac hardware. I mean, I guess the other obvious thing that Apple will be announcing is macOS 12. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see. I was reading just yesterday that Windows 10 machines cannot upgrade to Windows 11 RTM. Hardware sold in China lacks TPM modules. Interesting. That would be in your best interest if you're running a Ryzen. But there are several articles out there about the performance hit, and so you may want to reference one of those specifically just to verify that I reiterated the reported facts correctly. So I'm only human, and I may have missed some pertinent point. I've seen so many people forget that you can actually upgrade if you desire to Windows 11 just by downloading and installing through an ISO. Yes, an ISO or the media creation tool. Either of those will work. There has been some talk where you can also install Windows 11 on unsupported hardware, and you may or may not get security updates if you do that. Little gotcha there. I think I've seen that video. I know I've seen at least one video about the 5900 HX. I'll be on the lookout for that. Yep, they've got a Visa mount. bracket so that you can put them on the back of a monitor and, you know, effectively have what looks to the masses as an all-in-one machine if you were to do it that way. ETA Prime has done a plethora of reviews for Minis Forum machines. He's never displayed a disappointment, some minor issues, but nothing worrying. Yeah. I've seen a lot of reviews on Minis Forum. Not quite so many for the B-Link machines. They're very similar. But the one thing that and granted, in the short term, I will be running Windows 10 and 11 on one of these machines if I decide to purchase. But I've never seen any real in-depth testing with Linux or BSD or anything like that on one of these. I'm very curious about that. And I think it would be interesting. I will, if I do decide to break down and purchase one of these, I will likely do a clone of my SSD that comes in it, and using Clonezilla, which is my tool of choice for that right now. Shout out to the developer of Clonezilla. I will be reviewing the new version of that when it comes out, and the estimated time frame is November-ish. So I've also thrown out the idea to him that if he wants quality assurance testers, people to put it through its paces before the full release, that I and some of you may be interested in doing some testing with it. So yeah, that's something worth considering as well. But I'll have to take a look again at those ETA Prime videos, Carlos. I do tend to enjoy some of his stuff. Let's see. I need a new version of VirtualBox. Hopefully you're talking about VirtualBox and not Visual Basic. I always have to question when I see VB together. I still have nightmares from Visual Basic 6. All right. Tony says, I'm considering an Uptime Kuma video focusing on a Synology Docker install. Been using it about 3 weeks and liking it thanks to you. Well, great, Tony. I'm happy that I suggested something useful to you. I can't take all the credit for discovering that. I believe I found out about it through a channel called Awesome Open Source. I think that's the name of it. Let's see. Yes, Awesome Open Source. Mute the tab. But he's got things on his site, you know, from Docker and firewalls to just all kinds of fun self-hosted type stuff. And, you know, Hoogle even. You can self-host in Docker a version of Google that strips all the tracking garbage from it. So, and that's all I'm going to say about that, at risk of getting myself in trouble with my YouTube overlords. All right. Let's see. The newer model of the Minis Forum Ryzen 5 3450U is even cheaper than the one you were looking at. Yep, I was actually looking at that model last night. and I've been on the on the fence because of the price point of it. I've almost pulled the trigger twice this weekend so far, but I've held back. Yeah, $539 with a $30 rebate or coupon. Yeah, it's a very tempting purchase. I will say that. Yeah, so you've seen that in the news as well about installing on unsupported hardware and not getting security updates. Now, again, for some of what I do on the channel here, it wouldn't make a lot of difference. So I believe you can get away with installing on a machine that has a TPM 1.2 module. But, you know, it's one of those your mileage may vary type of situations. So if I take off the $500 to $600, let's see, if I go any price, if we went under $500 on the mini PCs, so please don't anybody buy anything with an A10 unless you've got some edge use case for it that you don't need to run Windows. You know, for $159, maybe that would make a compelling purchase for an inexpensive Linux box for some uses. But yeah, so worth pointing out, B-Link does have this G series, which is supposed to offer some gaming capabilities as well. I think they're using a higher powered processor from a power standpoint instead of limiting it to a 35 watt part. They might be doing the 65 watt. I'm not 100% sure on that, but some of these support 3 monitors in this form factor. So yeah, there is no shortage of options at the moment for these mini PC type options. So if I can say CPU manufacturer, minis forum. Okay, so Ryzen 5 3450U. So you definitely don't want these embedded Ryzens. Those are going to be lower performance yet. But yeah, there are many options here. Here we go. 3569. Nope, that's not the one. $529.90 with a $30 rebate. That's got to be it. The UM340. Yeah, I was looking at that one last night. That is definitely on the contender list. And it's an additional $30 to double the size of the solid state, but I'd probably put a 1 terabyte in there later anyways, so I'd probably just leave that alone. So Yeah. But yeah, I kind of flip-flop back and forth between this and then spending a little bit more money and going with like this B-Link GTR7, which has a Ryzen 7 3750H in it, which is a cute little blue box, and it's got a fingerprint reader in it. You know, at the same time, I am. Oh, here's something fun. Um, Yubico. Oh, YubiKey. Yubico. I misspelled their name. Okay, Yubico, the security dongle company, has just announced this week the Bio series. And these have a fingerprint reader in them. These work with Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. You can use them to log into Windows, Linux, or Mac OS after setup. They also work with password managers, many websites, including Google stuff, Gmail, YouTube, etc. The USB Type A model, I believe, is $80, and the USB C model is $85. Store. So, yeah, 80 and 85 respectively. So, I've got a YubiKey 5 NFC, which with NFC you can tap it on the back of your cell phone and have it communicate that way. They've got some nano models that you can leave plugged into your computer all the time. And they've got some even less expensive ones if you just want a basic security key. And the reason for bringing this up is, hey, it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and Microsoft in the next several years is really pushing on the idea of going passwordless for Windows. And it's here now if you really want it. You can kiss those PIN numbers goodbye and all that kind of thing. So let's see. Right. Any A CPU from AMD I never recommend. Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly with you there. There is no reason to recommend them, and in fact, they shouldn't even be on the market now. And it's just back stock and used stuff that's available with those, and Chinese manufacturers trying to push it out there at low prices with, people. There's still people out there that, that shop purely according to price and don't consider, am I going to have to replace this in 2 years or 5 years? You get an A series CPU at a low price right now, and it might get you by until, this drought of components is over, but you're not going to upgrade past Windows 10 on it. You could probably run Linux on it. In fact, I can almost guarantee you can run Linux on it. But given the advances that AMD has made, I wouldn't even recommend it for that unless you're getting the box for free. Okay, how is the cooling on those little things? As you know, I'm a cooling nut. So they have a fan. They are, most of them that I've looked at are using like a 35-watt laptop style CPU. And so it's the U340, I believe, is what I was looking at. U340. So this is the Ryzen 5 3450U, which I believe is a 35-watt part. We can find out here rather quickly. Okay. Default TDP, this is a 15-watt part. So you know, my concern is that it's got the 4 cores, 8 threads. I would verify with the Microsoft list that this will in fact run Windows 11 before I would put down the card to order it. Because according to this, it's based on the 12 nanometer process, which I believe that's original Zen or Zen Plus cores. And so that would be the Ryzen 1000, 2000 series. So the mobile parts get a bump in series number in a different sequence than the desktop parts. So I'd want to verify that this part number is in fact on the supported list for Windows 11 before buying this. And while I would prefer a Ryzen-based machine, I am not opposed to, for this particular box, buying one of the similarly priced and sized boxes with an 8th gen iSeries processor, just so I can have the Windows 11 machine running on my bench. So I was going to mention those security keys in my next video. I have FIDIAN, ePass, A4B USB that works best with websites. I'm trying to get it to control Windows 10 login. Nice. Is that a universal two-factor U2F type key? I've not heard of this FIDIAN ePass before, but I won't search it now and take away from your upcoming video. So, all right. Should I send you the English version link of? Yes, that would be helpful if you don't mind shooting that to me. Thank you, Catherine. Let's see. The Ryzen 3450U is Zen 2. Okay. Just wanted to be sure. I've followed this somewhat, but I don't look at it on a regular enough basis to have it all straight in my head without questioning myself a little bit. Thankfully, there's plenty of information available through AMD and other sites that give you that information quickly. 3450U is supported by Windows 11. Okay, that's great. So, yes, FIDO U2F. Yep, very nice. I'm always interested in alternatives. You know, the more the merrier on the market. So, I think this one, even the 2450 model of YubiKey, the blue one, is will secure popular online services like Google accounts, Microsoft accounts, Dashlane, Keeper, GitHub, Dropbox, Facebook, and Twitter. To work with LastPass, you need a Series 5 key. So, and then they've got a line for the government too. The FIPS 140-2 validation series. So, and of course, you get into server models and you're going to pay $650. Oh, wow. All right. And they've got some cute little covers and lanyards and socks, they call them, that you can get too. It's cute little accessories made in Sweden and the USA. So that's one reason that I've kind of stuck with Yubico and their different keys. I think my first one was a YubiKey 4. I got when I purchased a 1-year subscription to Ars Technica a few years back, and their subscription included the YubiKey. And then I purchased a 5 series when those came out because I wanted, like David just mentioned, to be fully safe, you need to have 2 of the keys. And that's absolutely true. So I've got 2 keys. I've also got an off-brand, I think it's a FIDO U2F key, and I don't remember the brand. Something I bought off from Amazon 4 or 5 years ago. Never really did get it set up to my satisfaction, but I might take another look at that. So, yeah. So we're at 12:19. So where am I with time? I've got about 40 minutes left before I want to be done. So let me bring myself back up to do this quite the way I would want, but I am going to sort of go over what I'm using to get these solid state drives in my Dell Optiplex machine. So I bought the little 3.5 inch to 2.5 inch adapters, and I've got one of the Inland Professional guys right here. And of course, you know, you buy things in bulk and you get a slightly better price. If I'd had a Micro Center a little closer to where I'm at, I probably would have signed up to get a freebie. But by the time I would have factored in gas to drive to Detroit, which is about an hour and 10 minutes one way, it didn't sound like as great a deal. When the good people, Bezos accepted, the good people that actually do the work at Amazon, not the guy that owns the place, but everybody else, they deliver these to the door. So, but yeah, it's you line this up, put the 4 screws in, which I've got to break the package open in order to get to the screws. And it's pretty trivial afterwards to get it mounted in the case. So I know this isn't near as entertaining since I don't have the ability during a live stream to have multiple cameras going with StreamYard, or not in my current setup. Now, I have been reading about using StreamYard in conjunction with OBS, which is something that I want to play with and experiment with a bit, but that will probably not happen as part of a Sunday stream until I've worked a few bugs out of that. So I do have the newest version of OBS downloaded on the M1 Mac Mini, and I will be trying out the virtual camera support. So basically, I'd be using StreamYard for the actual streaming, and OBS would act as a camera switcher, supplying a virtual camera, and then switching between the scenes would happen through OBS. So that would allow me to leave StreamYard on a single source, and then still be able to have the capabilities switch scenes and have a little bit more control over some of the pieces of the live stream, which is really something I've been thinking about for a while. And as I'm getting the Mac Mini configuration down, it's something I want to revisit. So this is what it looks like installed in the tray, and there's the end that hooks to the power and data cables. So there's the bottom side. Just a simple metal bracket that is very prone to fingerprints. But I've actually got the Optiplex sitting down here by my side. I'm going to stick the screws in the bag and put it back inside the little box so that I don't lose the little screws. So back in the box they go. And let's see. So this bad boy is a Dell Optiplex 7010. And yes, it's not the newest of machines, but again, for the purpose of demonstration videos, the price is right. So the inside of it is not awful. And so this bracket actually fits underneath the hard drive. See if I can hold this up without dropping it. So right there by the fan, there's enough room to get the bracket in there with the solid state drive attached. And bugger. So the one thing I didn't do was bring in a SATA cable. So give me 30 seconds while I run to my annex room and grab a cable. I will be right back. All right. No harm, no foul. I am back with a SATA cable. And so the trick, because I've done this in one other machine already, the trick is going to be attaching the SATA cable first and putting this down in that little cubby. And it's a tight enough fit down there. I don't have to worry about a bracket or screws to hold it in place because there's no place for it to go. So SATA cable attached, and I will wiggle this guy down here. And so let me just take off the hard drive for a moment so I don't drop it. But it does fit down there in the corner. And it's not going to go anywhere. So the next part is getting the power hooked up to it. And you've got to kind of go under the main ketchup and mustard cable bundle in this case, and it's not the easiest thing to work on, especially when you're, there we go, doing this on camera. But I did in fact get that hooked up. You can kind of see there's the power cable attached. So now I'll plug in the SATA cable to the motherboard. And with a little luck, I can get the hard drive to connect back. Without too much of a problem. There we go. So here's power and data for that. And these Dell plastic brackets make it fairly easy to get things in and out of these cases. They just kind of click in place. And let's see, use this power. Yeah. This one goes here. And of course, I can't see what I'm doing. There. And power goes in right next to it. Okay. So thank you for bearing with me through that process. And I would probably, on a higher powered machine, I'd probably find a SATA cable that's about half this length. This is just an extra I had left over from another project. So we'll see about getting this hooked up and see what we can do. Power. Here's video. And let's see. Other end of the HDMI needs to come into the video capture. Get the keyboard. My lovely Amazon Basics keyboard. I like these particular ones because they have the built-in plastic piece to hold the backside up. You don't have to worry about breaking off the legs like you do with some other inexpensive keyboards. Let's see, we've got network and hook up the dongle for the mouse. Maybe if it wants to cooperate with me. There we go. And then, of course, I need the USB stick with Proxmox 7 installer on it. And hopefully this will cooperate with me as well. I was being a little finicky yesterday when I did the install on the other machine. Okay. So now that's plugged in, and hopefully the battery in my mouse didn't die. Oh, there's the light. Okay, so I've got to switch over to the capture card, which means you're going to not see me, and we'll try the best I can to make this work. The video is going to be offset since the live stream is limited to 720p, and the video from the Optiplex is going to default higher than that. So this will be a little off from that, but we can still do or start the install for Proxmox VE. And of course, with a Dell, F12 is going to no video. No beeps either. It doesn't like me. It's on the input. Okay, so once again, I think the curse of the live stream has bit me in the behind. I'll try this one more time and see. Whoop, there we go. Let's try one more time to do capture. And I got nothing right now. Even dropping that to 480p does nothing. Okay. No harm, no foul. I won't worry about it at the moment, but I will be installing this afternoon, and maybe I can make this into another video. Although I've done a series on installing Proxmox. So let me bring myself back on, I guess. Hey, look at that. Okay, so let's add that to stream and go this one, that one. There we go. Okay, so yeah, I guess I will start wrapping this up. Minis forum is a contender at this point for me. But also I think it's b-link.com. So they've got a few different categories. So if we start looking at their machines from the higher price to the lower price, they've got some Ryzen 7 machines, Ryzen 5, and working their way down. They've even got a 10th gen i3 for only $519. So and you get down lower and you're running into, I believe that's a Celeron. I believe that's a Celeron part. Yeah, Celeron 5095. So I don't know. I still am not a fan of Celeron machines, but maybe that's because I remember what kind of garbage they were 20 years ago. So I don't know. They're the blue ones that are a little bit higher end are impressive. I'm not sure I'll go that far. But I don't know. Somewhere in the $400 to $500 range, I think would be a good price point for me to be at for this particular use case. So let's check chat again and see what's going on. The new Ubuntu looks great already. It is only beta, close to the finish line. Yep, it's getting real close. Like 4 more days and it should be out. Does the UPSU have a switch? PSU, you meant. So these, I believe, and I think the Minis forum ones are the same. They have a brick, like a laptop style power supply. If I'm not mistaken. This has a dual fan setup. Again, I'm not sure I want to spend $900, but this does have 2 M.2 slots, 1 NVMe, 1 SATA 3. That has 2 gigabit LAN ports. So, you know, in 3 years, it could be repurposed as a router. Mounts on the back of a monitor with the included clip. Does not show the PSU. I believe though most of these are sort of laptop style power bricks, if I'm not mistaken. Minis forum. Let's see. Yeah, so like this picture here shows the power brick. Unfortunately, they don't let you blow that picture up. So I'm assuming that most of these are the same style to get it down that small. That's one place that I've still got to give Apple a thumbs up, because they managed to get the power supply in the Mac Minis, at least with the current generation. Now the new ones, the rumored ones, allegedly are going to have the same type of power brick as the M1 iMacs, which have a MagSafe connection, and which I think is overboard for a desktop computer, but maybe if you have kids and you don't do cable management properly, it would still be handy. So yeah, that's that, I think. Okay. Oh, if you're as far as the Optiplex, it's just the video that wasn't happening through my capture card. There was actual power to the machine. And this does not. It's got a button to do tests, but it does not have an on-off switch at the power supply. So, I guess I misunderstood. Oh well, not the first time. I'm sure it won't be the last. Okay, so we are at 12:43 p.m. and we've still got 5 people watching. So one more time, I'm going to throw the link to the Matrix server into chat. I think I did this before anybody really joined today. So there's that. I know Carlos was on last night, and a couple other guys have been in on and off this week. So nice to see. There's one person in particular, I missed them by a couple of hours last night, but I can't live in chat and still produce content. So, you know, if I'm editing video, I will keep the chat up and pop back and forth a little bit, but my patience for just sitting in chat and only doing chat, that left 15 years ago or 20 years ago. So I hate to say it, but that's just the way it is. I've got to be doing more than that. And I've never been, and I don't believe I have ADHD or anything like that, but I've got to be doing something more than just sitting in chat. So I have been called an impatient person before, so maybe that's what I should label it. But so the client that I use for matrix is called Element. And it's at element.io. There are other chat clients available, especially if you're running Linux. There are multiple, some of which are Linux only chat clients, including a command line or terminal based client. So there are multiple mobile clients available on the desktop. Element is the sort of web interface. I believe that's now I'm losing my train of thought. I forget what tool set that's written in. It's a wrapper around a web client that makes it into a desktop application. And for the life of me, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. There's Fractal, which is a matrix client written in Rust, which is a newer programming language that even Linus Torvalds is starting to use for some Linux kernel development. So that's something you may want to take a look at. And yeah, there's, like I said, there's several of these. There's one for Qt. There's a native one for macOS called Seaglass. And then based on Element with a more traditional instant messaging experience, this Shildy Chat, which is a web desktop. And then you get down, and if you want to get really in touch with your geeky side, there's GoMux and WeChat, Matrix Commander, and Matrix CLI, all of which provide you with a command line / terminal based Matrix client, which, hey, more power to you. It's probably not what I'll be using, but it's available. And I don't know if you're the kind of person that and believe me, it's crossed my mind, if you wouldn't mind getting your hands on a what are they, VT220 terminals, the old school geeky green screen or amber screen Unix terminals. This would be kind of fun to have running on that. Granted, you're not going to get all the pretty colors, but it would run in monochrome. So anyways, the more the merrier in Matrix. I will be in and out this afternoon. I'll probably come on more in the evening. And I will jump out when David's live stream happens. So make sure you check that out. So let's see. Miss a lot in chat as well when streaming. I go back later and realize what I missed. Yep. So that was part of the reason. I've had several people ask for a Discord or other things, but I found Matrix and I liked what it was, and some of their principles for approaching security and things, and this is what the community is getting. So, you know, if anybody is interested in being a moderator on Matrix, feel free to contact me. Obviously, I can't be in chat 24/7. I've got to work and still record videos. So, if a regular wants to be one of the moderators, I am more than comfortable with promoting somebody. So, all right. There's a FOSS Android client called Fluffy Chat. Very nice. Sounds like Catherine's going to try that. Looks like a cat. VT220. I own 2 of those. One was amber, which I liked better. Yeah. The amber or orange looking ones, when I was at the local community college back in the 90s, they still had the VT220s as the search terminals in the library. So that was something that I tended to use. Of course, in the early 90s when I was at the local community college, they also had a DEC VAX machine, and they had may have been something newer than a VT220, because I know it had some graphical capabilities in the VAX lab. So I don't remember off the top of my head what terminals those were, but I know they were hardwired back to the VAX. So, but yeah. At the risk of sounding like an old fart, kids today will never know the struggle. I suppose I should follow that up with "get off my lawn," but and that's what 2 cups of coffee will do to me before a live stream. So yeah, you're very welcome for the plug. I'm happy to continue to make people aware of your live streams, and you know, I've been thinking about something that I read. I'm still not finished with the Daryl Eves book, David, but the last section that I read was talking about doing a 1-for-1 trade-off in on the community tab and promote videos from other channels to give you more exposure. So something I'll likely contact you about in an email and float that idea and maybe some details. But I'm definitely interested in your live stream tonight, because I'm curious what you learned from VidSummit. I looked at their website again, and I see that you can still buy the replays of the videos for $200. So I don't know. I think at this point I'd rather just get your take on some of the sessions and plan for VidSummit 2022, doing the virtual pass, and then you know, maybe in 23 or 24 I can afford to make the trip to California in person. Right now it's not really something that's in my budget, but we'll see. I agree. That's a shame. The struggle helps. I finished that book right before Vid Summit. Yeah, I've had some other projects going on, and I don't talk about stuff at work too much, but I've had two fairly large projects that I've had going on throughout the summer at my day job, and of course they both kind of hit for the implementation phase at nearly the same time. So it's been an interesting few weeks since that was all put in place, and trying to work a few bugs out of the new systems, and hopefully things are going to sort of coast between now and the end of the year. I've got a problem machine at work that I've got to wipe and rebuild with Windows 10, because try as I might, it will not upgrade off from 1909. And I've gone back and forth with different people with different options. And since this install was originally done before I started the job, I want to do a clean install, do all the updates, reattach it to the new antivirus, reattach it to deep freeze, and then once all that's working, get a clean image taken of that particular machine, so that if I run into issues again in the future, that I can always restore to the image backup. All the other machines seem to be doing fine. It's just this one particular machine. I may run memory diagnostics on it first before I go further, but seems like I've run... No, it wasn't that machine that I ran diagnostics on. The other ones that I was having a couple of issues with earlier in the year, I ran MemTest 86 or 86 Plus. I can't remember which version I used. And those came up fine. I let those run for like 4 hours doing memory tests. And so that was all good. We'll see what happens with this. So I like the last 3 chapters the best. Yeah, I've got a notebook that I've taken notes as I've gone through the book, and that's part of the reason I've gone through it more slowly than my normal reading speed, is because I took extra notes with page numbers so that I could refer back to specific things. And so I want to finish the book and then go back through and flesh out any additional notes I need to add, and then start really implementing some of the suggestions. I've taken to heart a few of the things already, but yeah, some of the other stuff I will have to circle back to. The in-person had its pros and cons. Well, that's good to know. I'll definitely be interested in hearing more about that tonight, David. So on that note, it is exactly 1 o'clock, which is my normal hard cutoff time. I do want to thank everybody for coming out. Even at the end of 2 hours, we've still got 5 people watching. So props to everybody. And if you haven't done so already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and after the video is processed by YouTube, feel free to leave comments down in the comment section. And, let me know what your favorite part of this particular video was. I may be doing a couple of clips from this video just as shorter clips to let people digest things a little easier. It's something that I'm experimenting with, and given the numbers I saw for the video I released Thursday, it's not a bad thing to do going forward, and a lot of the big channels are doing it anyways. So I may be a little peon in the grand scheme of things, but the channel's still growing, and I tend to like the people that I've got surrounding the channel and showing up in the live streams, and so that's I think where I'll leave this. So thanks everybody for coming out, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.